Well, Dave, you've certainly been battling against the elements at times in training this week. How have preparations been going?
Yeah, okay. Everyone's been the same. We don't get away from the fact that we're fortunate that we've got covers here, and we've been able to train on grass. And today with snow, we've been able to get 3/4 of a pitch uncovered and again get on the grass again. So certainly helps us, and something that's not lost how fortunate we are, like I say, to have the facilities and have the opportunity to not be distracted in too big a way.
We spoke last week about whether momentum had maybe been disrupted a little bit by the injuries, by illness, by a couple of defeats. How pleased were you with the reaction and the response from the lads last Saturday?
Yeah, it was an important game. We knew that. Important to get 3 points, and obviously things look a whole lot rosier than they did or than they would have done if we'd not won that game. Everyone's in the same boat at the moment. I think that there's going to be change through January in terms of incomings and outgoings right across the division. What you have to do is, like I say, it's an important time of year with lots of games before the window closes, and our aim has to be just to pick up as many points as possible, with hopefully, like I say, not too many distractions.
You changed shape on Saturday for the first time since the run that you've been on. More out of necessity maybe on the day, given the injuries, but did the performance give you confidence that you can revert back to that shape when you need to going forward?
Yeah, so we can certainly play in that way. Not ideal, as like I say, in terms of would we have changed shape if Kyle had been in the building on Thursday? No, but the way things panned out last week was that we had a conversation with Kyle late in the week, and things turned around really quickly in terms of getting that deal done. Once we'd spoken to Doncaster and agreed with them, he was then in for a medical on Friday morning, trained with the players Friday late morning, if you like, when we go out, and we'd done a lot of our work on Thursday, so it wouldn't have been fair to throw him in first and foremost. And we'd done a lot of our preparation the day before, as we normally would do during the week. So felt it best to go with what we'd worked on, and had I suppose the ability to change it later in the game. But if it had been in, like I say, in the building and training with us earlier in the week, then there'd be no reason for us to change shape, because it's been going really well for us in terms of how we've managed that and the results we've got.
Top of the form table now over the last 10 games in League Two, second over the last 15 games as well. I guess the frustration comes from that you're still having to play a little bit of catch up from those first 10 games, which means there's not a big margin for error between now and the end of the season.
No, there's not, but that is what it is. Like you say, I suppose the good thing from our perspective is that you are judged over 46 games, and it doesn't matter realistically what happened in the first 10, 20, 30, you're going to be judged once that last game's finished. So we are playing catch up. We will have opportunities, but we're in the same boat as other teams. There are that many teams involved, as I said previous to last week, really, between sort of 4th and probably 14th. Everyone's will have real ambitions of continuing a run and averaging 2 points per game over the rest of the season, and if they do that, then you have a real chance of getting in amongst things. That's where our thought processes are. Yes, there's less margin for error. We've got to make sure that we manage that, and the amount of errors that we have in a game, we make it as little as possible and pick up as many points as we can.
Just in terms of team news, injuries, how are we looking for Saturday?
Yeah, we're not bad. As with everything, we've bits and bobs, but we're pretty hopeful in terms of where we are and where we were from last week. Jack Stretton's been back on the grass with us today for the first time. So we've obviously got to be careful with him. But we're in, like I say, we're in a good place and go into the game looking to back things up in terms of what we did last weekend, and recognising that this weekend, although it's not pivotal and the be-all end-all, you look at the top 11 teams, take us out of it, the other 10 play against each other. So within that, 5 of the teams that are above us or in around us are going to drop points, and we've got to do everything we can to make sure we go about our business in order to try and get our 3 points, and things could look a whole lot different come Saturday evening.
And regardless of the injuries, when you look at the squad that you've got now, particularly with the additions, you go back to last Saturday, you turn to your bench, you can bring on Kyle Noyle, Callum Camps, Tanto Alafe. There's a real strength in depth now right across the squad.
Yeah, there is, but like I say, that's not lost on us. We're fortunate, and we have been in a fortunate situation, and I suppose the strength of our squad is the strength of us. We're not, or we don't, or aren't in a situation where if we do lose players, then we're changing things and it drastically and significantly worsening or putting us at a disadvantage. We're lucky to be able to build a squad that we think will hopefully get us to where we want to be at the end of the season, and it's at times like these and like the previous sort of month where it is tested and it is challenged, but hopefully we've come out the other end of that, and like I say, the strength of our squad will be something that can carry us forward and make that difference, because the detail and the margins are so fine. Hopefully that'll be a one that at the end of the season really counts for us.
Just looking at Crewe, I mean, the game at Edgeley Park on Boxing Day probably turned into one of the more comprehensive wins of the season. They didn't even have a single shot on goal. Picked up a couple of impressive results since then, of course. Are you expecting a different kind of approach from them, particularly being at home?
It's a different game, isn't it? We're a month further on. They've got some players back in terms of back from suspension, back from injury that didn't play in the game on over Christmas against us. Have signed a couple of players, so that they'll have fresh emphasis in terms of what they do. I went to their game against Wimbledon a couple of weeks back. Again, pitch isn't in a great condition, so even from them, I know they'll want to play a whole lot more than what they did. But on the day, they played more percentages than I suppose your typical Crewe side would. But they ground out a result, and I've done that previously. So whether they go with the team that they went with on Saturday, whether they make changes and bring back, like I say, more experienced personnel and new signings for them, we have to wait and see. We've got to focus on, like I say, on us, going there, being strong, playing what we have to do in order to get ourselves 3 points, and we'll, like I say, we'll focus on that as much as possible.
And just finally, you've spoken about it briefly already, but when you look at the other fixtures this weekend, the other 10 teams in the top 11 all playing each other, without putting too much pressure on it, you must be looking at this game now as a massive opportunity, really, in terms of making more ground up on the teams.
The next week for us is massive. I said this before the Northampton game in terms of Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. Tuesday, not many fixtures, an opportunity against Bradford, a team who are above us. Like I say, we want to sort of reel back in, and then similarly going to Wimbledon next Saturday, and the first one being this weekend. Yeah, like I say, a big opportunity. What we've just got to, like I say, control what we can control, and be adaptable and do what it takes to win. And like I say, that where we sit in the table after the weekend's game isn't the be all and end all. And there would be great disappointment if we won Saturday and then lost the next two. So let's be clear, it's our next game. It's a tough game. Probably tough weather conditions in terms of what the whole country's come up against in the last week or so. But we've got to do everything we can to get 3 points. Once we've done that, and hopefully we can, then our focus switches to a different challenge on Tuesday evening, and it will do the following Saturday.
Thanks for your time, Dave.
Cheers, thank you.